Charlie Greenbaum, a Kristallnacht survivor. He was 4 years old during that night. His house was ransacked by German Jew haters who went inside and destroyed his and his family's property. He's with us now. Professor, thank you so much for being with me. I know you were a young boy, but what do you remember from that night?
From that night, I remember the morning when I woke up as a 4.5-year-old, and people were around, my family was around. They told me, don't get out of bed. Don't get out of bed because the floor is littered with glass, broken glass, and we have to clean it up. Around my bed, it was pretty well cleaned up, but in the rest of the apartment, they had to clean it up. This is in Nuremberg in Germany. After that, the rest of the day, as far as I remember, was spent in cleaning up and in trying to figure out how we were going to get along without windows, even though it was cold, without dishes, chandeliers, and so forth. But that's the moment that I woke up is what I most remember. From that point on, do you remember a change in how you felt as a boy, how your parents felt? Was it a loss of innocence? Were you aware at that point, perhaps, of the danger to come? I think I was. It's hard for me to recollect what was going on at the time, but I know that there was a lot of tension, and my parents at that point were trying very hard to leave Germany because Kristallnacht made very, very clear, even though my parents had tried to leave Germany before, Kristallnacht made it very, very clear that we had to leave as quickly as possible. And so we managed, through relatives in England, to get visas to England, after that to the United States, where I grew up. But we did, as a family, my brother, my two older brothers, myself, and my parents were fortunate enough to be able to leave Germany in 1939. The Kristallnacht was the culmination of a years-long policy, as you know, of dehumanizing Jews, treating them as the other, taking away their rights to go places, to do things that other German citizens could do and enjoy. Do you think there are lessons today around the world, across Europe, even perhaps in America, that need to be listened to 80 years later? Yes, definitely. One lesson that I want to bring up, which had to do specifically with our experience, was that the help that we obtained from non-Jews in two ways. One was that my father was tipped off before the Kristallnacht that there was going to be something bad happening that night by the German police, who were not Nazis. Then he managed to get himself admitted to a hospital. He was there overnight, but he asked a friend of his, a non-Jew, to come in and see us on the morning after the Kristallnacht, as it was in Nuremberg. He did come, even though this was a very dangerous thing for a German non-Jew to visit a German Jewish family. Afterwards, this person whose name is Karl Klein, and we are still in touch with him. He has passed on, but we're in touch with his granddaughter, who is running the business that he founded, a gold leaf business. He came and helped my father correct and work out the books that had to be submitted to the tax authorities, without which, without their approval, we wouldn't have been able to leave Germany. He managed to do this. The books were delivered, and they were approved, even though my father had not succeeded in doing that previously. He came to the house several times, worked with my father days at a time, and we are forever indebted to him. And we remain in touch with his granddaughter until today. Incredible. There are other lessons. I think there's 2 points of light. In other words, even though it is, as you described, German mobs ransacked Jewish homes and burnt synagogues, there were people who, in a quiet way, helped other Jewish people, and there are other stories like that.
I want to turn, thank you, Professor, for sharing.
The other part of
Oh,
it.
yes, go ahead, Professor. You mentioned the second part there, the lessons.
I just wanted to mention that in light of what you said about, this was a culmination of removal of rights of Jews to work in their professions, to go to school, to worship. Even the synagogues were burnt. By the way, my older brother was bar mitzvah the Shabbat after the Kristallnacht. The synagogue was burned. The service was held at a person's home where people entered one at a time because they weren't supposed to congregate. There was no Sefer Torah, but they had the bar mitzvah. He read the Haftarah, and this was a very, very special time. But the important lesson is that, that once you take away people's rights anywhere, this could be in Israel, this could be in Europe, this could be in the United States, anywhere, then this starts a process going where you take one right and then the next one and the next one. If you delegitimize and discriminate against people, you don't know where it's going to end. And the end here was terrible, and that should be really the lesson for all of us.